comes to us from the Daily Word for September 2nd, 2017. So it's coming up, but it fits today. I give thanks for the diversity of all God's creatures. Animals are a vital, living part of our ecosystem. When I consider the thousands of species that inhabit the world, I am both amazed and grateful. I can learn a great deal about the animal kingdom, as I watch how they interact. A mother bird instinctively builds a nest to protect her young. Elephants comfort one another when a member of the herd passes. I share in the joy of watching dogs wag their tails in excitement. They're so much fun. I, too, am one of God's creations, and as such I recognize the divine in all living beings. As a member of this ecosystem, I have an obligation to do my part in protecting my animal friends through their awareness and support. And the reading of the Bible reading is, "And God said, let the earth bring forth living creatures of every kind, cattle and creeping things, and wild animals of the earth of every kind." And that's from Genesis 1:24. Oh, our speaker today is definitely an animal lover. She takes care of every cat that comes across her door. In one way or another. She grabs them, she puts them in a cage, she takes them to the vet, and she has them taken care of. So they don't have other little creatures. And she finds homes for them, or she keeps them herself. And so she's always feeding a lot of little animals, mostly cats. We call her our crazy cat lady of TIC. She's also a teacher and a prayer therapist and a minister here at TIC. She is gives a wonderful talk on in-depth things. So help me welcome Appreciating Our Pets. Speaking to us, we're Elaine Fuller-Zachey.
Thank you. You're kind of a crazy cat lady, too.
Well,
Yes, we're
Oh, well, here we are. Greetings from the crazy cat lady.
Crazy cat lady and you.
And from the teaching of the inner Christ. Well, actually, I changed the title from Appreciating Our Pets to Appreciating Our Animal Companions for a reason. I did it for a reason. The word pets implies our animal ownership, which relies on a hierarchy with animals on the bottom and humans on the top, with human control of inferior animal beings. And companion animals allows for the realization of equality. This equality is based on the truth that God is perfection everywhere now, including animals and humans and what have you, stars and moons. There are no degrees in perfection. It is simply perfection. It's what it is across the board. Therefore, animals and humans both exist within everywhere God and are equal in value, in perfection. And so is everything else. I mean, this exists in the here and now. And so what does appreciating our animal companions look like to me? Well, I see the Christ in them. I feel thankful that each little wise being chooses to be a part of my family. I love the love, friendship, and companionship they and I experience together. You know, it's a together thing. Sometimes when I sit down to meditate, one or more cats join me. We have cats now. Well, a lot of the time we've had cats and dogs, but right now it's cats. And the ones who join me in meditation recognize the meditation vibration, and of course I feel it too. They snuggle into a comfortable place around me or on me and close their eyes and frequently purr. I may gaze into my cat's calm, glowing eyes before they close. We join in a realization of peace and Christ's love. I recognize the spirituality of each little being and feel the love and amazement which accompanies Christ to Christ communication. It's a different kind of a feeling, that Christ to Christ communication. It is love, and it's my inner Christ communicating with theirs. And I think what a perfect little fur person each one is. How honored I am that he, she, or they have chosen me as a life partner. I frequently thank each cat for being a family with me, for letting me love him or her, and for loving me in return. It's an opportunity that they give me. And humans do that too with me. I think about the animals in terms of their perfect little individualization and wonder how he or she can be real and so uniquely complex. Think of maybe a dog or a cat or a bird. We've got this little body with cells in it, with circulatory system, with the respiratory system, with the skeletal system, and the feathers or the fur or scales or what hair, whatever it is. All of this complex beauty, and it works together. What a lot of work that seems to me to put one of these little beings together. How amazing. You know? It's here, and then it releases into other life forms, equally as complex and unique. Maybe during meditation I think about my animals, how they comfort me, relax me when I'm fatigued or stressed, give companionship, friendship, and love, and I do my best to return it. And you know, we just belong together. Love is real. God is omnipresent, and so is love, which is God's recognition of God's self. Therefore, love is expressed as cats, birds, and everything. Have you ever felt something like that? Christ to Christ communication between yourself and another than a different than human individual? When and how have you felt it? With what animal have you felt this? And what is your realization as a result? Did it change your attitude toward others, toward God? If so, how? Okay, here are some items to consider, right? Thank you. Up or down, doesn't matter. Okay. All right, thank you. So,
Turn it just a little bit more so that people over here can see it.
We can see,
can you see all right?
Okay.
So it is Christ to Christ communication with an other than human being. A Christ to Christ communication with an other than human individual. When and how have you experienced this? With what animal or plant or, I don't know, rock? What is your resulting realization? How did it change your attitude toward others? How did it change your attitude toward God? Think a moment. Meditate on this. And then share it with an elbow partner. If you don't have one, turn around or look next door to you. An elbow partner, someone right there.
You gotta go first.
I'm sure you think about him. Yeah, I do. Yeah, he's there. And they discuss what they're gonna do, and they walk around. Corporate like this.
I love it.
It was kind of neat. My friend
Communication, just daily stuff like George? George is 17. So he puts his face
Right up.
in George, and he runs away and pulls his jacket.
Well, I still have my Christmas tree lights.
I don't know, sometimes I just know that's when they want. When they meow at me. Like Daddy comes and, like, they look at me with that look.
So small, so close.
So, yes. Yeah.
Never meant to look at there with a mirror.
And how do you know? You just care about them and pay attention to them, right? And they communicate with us too. And I've had other times
So key or
sitting on the floor painting once TV was on, and a cat came up. And Leonard, and I said, Leonard, I love you. And he said, and I said, I didn't even think of it at the time.
they got
It's natural.
tell they were getting ready to go. So it's a wonderful thing. What a miracle.
He stayed for the winter. Good experiences.
The nest is still there. I don't know.
I don't know if I have
But,
experiences, maybe two.
well, they didn't work. But anyway. So close. Everybody did.
Let's wrap it up in about half a minute.
My brother was working on a farm. This wasn't his farm. The farms were the
Okay. All right, let's, I think we have time for two people to briefly share. Yes, Kayla Rose Carroll.
Years ago, I had a cat that was my best friend after my husband passed over. And I had a hard time sleeping for a while, and she would come up and she would purr me to sleep. And then in the morning, then she'd go back down to the end of the bed so that she didn't disturb me. And in the morning, about 6 o'clock, she'd climb up and she'd look in my eyes. And if I felt her coming and I didn't want to get up, I'd leave my eyes closed. And then she'd look in my face and see the eyes closed, and she'd go back down and be quiet for a little bit longer, and then she'd try again. And when she saw my eyes open, she would lift one paw and put it on my face. And this was our routine every morning. And then I would say to her, "Is it time for food?" And she'd hop down off the bed and run to her dish. So that was our routine until one day she passed herself. And it was a very traumatic experience because I'd lost one of my kids almost, you know. And so one night when I was trying to go to sleep, and I said, gosh, I just wish Little Bit was still here. And about that time, I felt her purring and her presence next to my, as she had always done during the year or so I had her still left with me. And I thought, oh my gosh, she is still here. And so then about a month later, I prayed for her again, her comfort. And I felt something go thump on the end of the bed, and I thought, oh, is there somebody here? And I turned my bedroom light on, and here was a circle indent where she used to sleep in my bedspread. So I know that she was telling me that I'm spending the night with you one more time, but I'm moving on. And it was a great lesson for me. And I know now that she's gone on to maybe even a different dimension. I don't know, but I know that she's okay.
One more? Yes, please. Jennifer Allen Prickett.
I just lost my little kitty boy yesterday, and we were going to take him in because he was so emaciated, because he hadn't eaten for the last 3 days. And so we were going to take him to the vet in the Saturday morning, but he passed around 6 or 7 in the morning, Saturday morning. And I think he was sparing himself and us from taking him in. And it was a beautiful passing, but he used to look in my eyes adoringly like that. So I got a vision of him in my sleep, so I know he's still with us. And so pets are very special.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And a lot of times I realize, well, these cats that my family cats are smarter than I am.
Yep.
And they show it when I want them to do something and they don't want to do it, and they run away or they shake their heads no, and they just don't do it. That's a communication too, okay? Okay. Well, thank you for your participation. In the book, Being a Christ, by Ann and Peter Meyer, co-founders of TIC, the first page of the first lesson, and I've got it here so I don't have to look it up. First page of the first lesson, we can read, all consciousness is one consciousness, universal consciousness. This is life and the knower of life, which we may call God. The knower expresses in a multitude of different forms and is aware of all forms of itself. There is only one energy composing every atom of the universe. This energy is intelligence expressing in every form of life. The rock, the plant, the animal, the human, all animate and inanimate forms are composed of the one energy, universal intelligence, which we may call God. So, Tim, I call on the usher. Please pass out some papers. And here are some quotes I've prepared for you, and I encourage you to read them carefully with your inner Christ guidance at home and meditate on them. I'm going to go over some of them anyway. They present more thoughts about us lowering our seeming barriers of superiority that humans have over other animals, rocks and whatever, and recognizing equality and Christhood of all within the holiness that is God. And so we can freely appreciate and love our animal companions. And so I read, This comes from behaving as if the God in All Life Mattered by Michelle Small-Wright. All energy has contained within it intelligent consciousness. It knows what it's doing, why, and its relationship to the scheme of things. That information is available to us. All that is around us is participating in this thing we call intelligent life. And we only fool ourselves when we think that humans are the only participants on Earth. And to go on, let's expand into other areas. And I take this from Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, and Lao Tzu. Parallel sayings put together by Richard Hooper. Very beautifully done book, too. Krishna. Once all was darkness. All remained unseen within the darkness, unknown and unknowable, as if in a deep sleep. Then the all became manifest as the Lord, who alone exists and who is self-existent. He is everywhere. There is no place where he is not. He exists in all things, and all things exist in him. He manifests himself from himself. And the words of Jesus, before that which is became visible, all things existed in him. He holds all things within himself, but nothing holds him. Buddha, one intrinsic unity, enfolds all manifestations. And these quotes point us toward the truth that God is through all and is all existence. All God creates, God creates everything out of God's self. There's a holiness of all being, and so we, loving God, can free ourselves of all untruths that imply the silly questions like, do animals think? Do animals love? Right, really. We could be free to love and appreciate these expressions of perfect God, of perfect love, of perfect intelligence, and appreciate their beauty, love, and diversity. So, I thank you for your attention. Oh, and here are some other nice books. Maybe you want to look at them after the service. They're about animals and God. Talk to me after the service, and if you wanted to order one for yourself, I'm sure you could talk with Caleb Rose Carroll about ordering one of them through the bookstore. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine.